Family, welcome home. What took you so long? You know what? Never mind. Don't worry about it. Thank God you're here now. This is Pastor Steve Salsa, the founder of Restoration Church of Jesus Christ, located in the great city of Dayton, Ohio. But guess what? It don't even matter where we're located, because you have finally found your way home to the Restoration virtual space. This is where you can find everything restoration, whether it be preaching, whether it be teaching, whether it be testimonials, documentaries, whatever it is, inspiration on a daily basis. Just know that we were intentional about gearing it toward your edification and your development. Here at Restoration Church, we believe in loving people back to life, and that's exactly what we're going to do to you. Love you back to life. God bless you and be restored. The formula for water. H2O. That's the formula for water. Now, somebody make me some. Can anybody make me some? That's the difference between knowledge and wisdom. And sometimes knowledge is limited and wisdom is the fulfillment or the fruit of your knowledge. Do that make sense? And so when you talk about evangelism or soul winning, there is a knowledge and wisdom component to it. So does that make sense now when I talk about the heart of a soul winner versus the art of soul winning? And so I'm not going to get too far into it tonight as it relates to the art of soul winning. But let me just say this as an opening statement. The heart of a soul winner is what motivates you to have the desire to win souls. All right? You have a desire to win souls. That comes from having the heart of a soul winner. Now, the art of soul winning is knowing how to actually accomplish that desire. Have y'all ever met people, ran into people, they love God and they love you and they want you to be saved and they want you to come to church and they want it for you, right? You met people like that, but they don't know how to talk to you. Have y'all ever met church folk like that? They want you to come to their church, but they just talk crazy to you. Look at you. You just need to get yourself together. You something wrong with you. Clean yourself up. You stink. You smell like alcohol. Ain't nobody gonna want to be around you. Right? Some of us probably didn't talk to people like that before. We have a heart for them to be saved, but we don't know how to get them there. Right? The art of soul winning is actually how you accomplish what it is you desire in your heart. So we're just going to talk, not exhaustively, but just a couple layers under the surface about what it takes or what it means to have the heart of evangelism. First of all, let's acknowledge that evangelism is not something that some pastor came up with one day to, make sure that his church got some members. Evangelism is something that came out of the heart of God from the very beginning of mankind. And it was something that was truly emphasized during the ministry of Jesus himself. He talked about winning souls or converting souls or making disciples or causing people to become believers. That was his primary message. Does everybody agree with that? His primary message was about that. Okay? But there was something that was overarching every time he talked about it. And the overarching thing was love. Love is a very diluted subject, especially in English-speaking countries. It's a very diluted subject. Does anybody think they know why? It's a very diluted subject. Anybody think they know why?
I think because you can use the same word to mean a lot of different things.
There it is. That's a wonderful She said you can use the same word to mean a lot of different things. What were you going to say?
Oh, no, my answer was,
Oh, that was your answer.
yeah, that was my answer.
You sick of love. Yes, let me go down that rabbit hole just a little bit of what Sister Carson said. Yes, ma'am. Oh, okay. There it is. I appreciate that.
I was just going to say that we use the word to mean different things. It doesn't mean agape. Sometimes it doesn't mean arrows or whatever. It could just mean I like that food. Ooh, I love it. We'll say we use the word loosely.
Excellent explanation. Can I sum up your comment by saying your sentiment was we use the word too loosely? And what y'all said all combines together to be the truth. And if you will allow me to just go down that rabbit hole a little bit and bring that truth out a little more. I singled out English-speaking countries for a reason. And I singled out English-speaking countries primarily for two reasons. Number one, the first reason is language, because words matter. Words matter. You know that, right? I think they said a long time ago, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words can never hurt you. Y'all heard that? Ain't nobody ever heard that? Yeah, but that's a lie. Let somebody say the wrong stuff to you. Let somebody say the wrong stuff to you over and over again. And the power of those words will have you even feeling some kind of way about yourself. Right? Words matter. And the fact that words matter complicates our ability to express God's heart clearly, because our language is so young and so underdeveloped. The English language, I know everybody in America think America is, you know, where Jesus was born, and it can't take no improvement. But the truth is, not only with America, but English-speaking countries don't fully understand the vast history of mankind. In the vast history, over the vast history of mankind, the English language has been in existence for a very short period of time. It is still a developing language, which is the reason why they add new words to the dictionary every year. It's new words being established every year. You even have variations of the English language growing up in different parts of the country and other parts of the world based upon the culture of the people who use it. You heard Ebonics. You ever heard of Ebonics? Ebonics is just a derivative of the English language. You've heard of Geechee. I hope I'm saying it right. Creole. Creole. You heard that, right? It's just a derivative of the English language. And it might sound funny, but there's some truth to it, even when you talk about pop culture. There is a language that prevails in pop culture that is not exact to the English language. That's why you can see your favorite rapper in court, and the prosecutor asks them to interpret their words. And they're not using a whole nother language. They're just using a derivative of the English language. You know, service was lit. What? It was lit. It was jumping. Bang. It was tight. Right? Brother Carson, them shoes is fresh. Brother Darnell, we out here. Right? Now, in some settings, you're going to know exactly what I'm talking about. In other settings, you won't. Because the words can have so many different meanings depending on who's using it, who they're talking to, why they're saying it, the context, did I say that right? The context of the conversation. All of that could change the meaning of the word. And so going back to what Minister Dion said, you can say, man, I love that food. Or, I love you as my brother. Or you can say, I love you to your wife. Or you can say, I love my church. And we use love so regularly for so many different things to express so many different emotions that we've watered down what love really is as it relates to God loving his people and people in return loving God's creation, which is what? People. So we've limited what impact God's love can have on our neighbor because we have overused, underused, or misused the word love. So I don't need to argue that evangelism was at the heart of Jesus' ministry, because I don't have time to prove that tonight. Y'all with me on that, right? Let's look at the scripture. Jesus' last message to Peter before going to the cross. When Peter was basically, challenging Jesus. Jesus was telling him, like, I gotta go and you can't go with me. And Peter was like, well, I can't go with you. I can't. He said, you'll where I go, you'll be with me later. But Peter was like, I want to go with you now. Right? Let me read it so y'all don't think I'm lying. Simon Peter, verse 36, said unto him, Lord, whither thou goest, or where you're going, or where are you going, I'm sorry. And Jesus answered him, whether I go or where I'm going, thou or you cannot follow me now, but you shall follow me afterwards. Listen to what Peter said. Because Peter was the prototypical member of Restoration Church. Let me not zero in on y'all. He was a prototypical church member. A real committed church member, the one that'll fight you for talking about their pastor. That was Peter. Peter wasn't being disrespectful from a place of intention. But Peter just didn't know no better. And Peter was the kind of person that just didn't hold back how he felt and what he wanted to say. So when Jesus told Peter, where I'm going, you can't go with me, but you'll be with me later. If you really respect him, then you accept that even if you don't understand it. Right? How many of y'all want your kids to just respect the stuff you say? And then when they say why, you say, because I said so. So you understand that, right? So Jesus basically said so. But listen to Peter. Peter said, Lord, why can't I follow you now? I'm like a little spoiled kid. He literally talking to the God of glory. God manifested in the flesh, walking among us. And he like, Jesus, I can't go with you now. He said, I'm going to lay down my life for your sake. Peter talking big. And this is where Jesus had to help you, because how many of y'all as parents, when your kids say something, you repeat it to them? Because you must don't hear what you're saying. You say, you take out the trash. They say, I already took out the trash. And you're like, so you took out the trash. Am I the only parent that do that? You repeat it to them like, so do you hear what you're saying? So listen to what Jesus said. Peter said, well, I can't go with you now. He said, I'm trying to follow you now. He said, I'll lay down my life for you. Jesus answered, wilt thou lay down thy life for my sake? He literally asked him, like, so you going to lay your life down for me? And then listen to what he said. Verily, verily, or truly, truly, I say unto you, the cock shall not crow till thou hast denied me thrice or 3 times. So in other words, he said the rooster is, in other words, he said, you're going to deny me 3 times before the rooster crows. All right? Peter only wanted to follow Jesus because he loved him. But Peter's defiance to what Jesus said was a lack of his wisdom in knowing how to express that love. You got me? Sometimes we do stuff even for God because we love him. But just because our intentions are right does not mean our actions are right. Does that make sense? Oh, I can give you some examples, because sometimes evangelism has to happen in the house. Sometimes evangelism has to happen within you. You got me? Sometimes you need to evangelize to yourself. Have you ever just was like, you know what, I don't even know if I want to. You know what, I don't even know if this is worth it. And you literally have to remind yourself that what you're doing is what the Lord desires for you to do. You gotta win yourself. And sometimes we gotta win ourselves in the midst of people. You know, I could not understand how. Let me take a sip of this Jesus juice before I say this. I don't understand how people fall out in the church. Hear me. So Sister Carson, she gonna understand, because I'm one of the people too. I ain't done nothing to say me and Brother Darnell. The Lord assigned us to a certain church. He's given us certain giftings, certain skill sets, certain talents, a certain heart and a certain passion that is not for us, but it is for the edifying of the people we share this space with, right? So it's imperative that we be unified, because the Lord loves unity. And in order for us to win, we got to be unified. There has never been a championship team that was not unified. You can be extremely talented, and if you're not unified, you won't win. But you can be subpar in talent. But if you have, do y'all watch the NCAA tournament, March Madness? Have y'all ever seen like these big top schools? They got all the top recruits. They got all the best players in the country. They lose to a school you never heard of before. Their players ain't as tall, they're not as big, they're not as fast, they're not as strong, but for some reason, they just keep on winning. The difference is that's a cohesive unit. They're unified. They're working together as one. This is a bunch of talented people. You got me? So it's imperative that we be unified, right? Say, for an example, we come to church, because the Lord don't change his goals and his desires. He wants us to be unified at all times. Say, for an example, we come to church and old Brother Darnell, he had a bad day today. You ever had one? Yes. Today was good. You look like a nice guy, like you never had a bad day before. You sure? You had a bad one? Okay. Say he come to church, he got a bad day. He had a bad day. And I walk past him because I ain't paying attention, and I don't speak to him. And he always kind of felt like, maybe I felt some kind of way about it. Maybe I'm a little socially awkward and I don't know how to really make friends well. Right? And I walk past him and I don't speak to him, he had a bad day, and he like, okay, you got one more time to walk past me and be disrespectful. And now we arguing. We're at odds, but we're on the same team. Right? At some point, somebody got to be spiritual. Oh, let me take a sip. I got to talk about this because when I dive into the subject of evangelism, people think evangelism is just passing out flyers, inviting people to church, talking to people about God's love. They think that it's just that. No, evangelism is it is a mantle that rests on your whole being, and it should show up in everything you do and in every area of your life. Somebody got to be spiritual. He just went off on me. And I wasn't even paying attention, and I didn't even realize that I had offended him. He went off on me. The heart of an evangelist is going to say, I care more about God's will than my feelings right now. So instead of arguing back, I'm going to take low and try to reconcile with my brother. And when I do that, if he's spiritual, because you can be spiritual, live a holy life, and have a bad day. Did you know that? Did you know you can really love Jesus and not have a good day? So me responding to him, the scripture says a soft answer turns away wrath. Me responding to him spiritually will catapult him back to a spiritual place, and he'll respect me more. You follow me? Are y'all with me? And guess what I've done? I just won my brother. I just won my brother. But what happens is we get out of the place of thinking about what the main thing is, and we focus on what our thing is. So we put our own feelings, our own ego, our own, above what matters most. And that's how we start bumping heads and being at odds with each other. You follow me? And now we didn't got into an argument. I'm arguing with him, he arguing with me. I think I'm right, he think he right. And now he need help. But because I've taken it so far, he don't even see me as a helper. And I got what he needed. Are you with me? Now I need help. But because we didn't went at it, he didn't call me short. And I'm sick of people because that's not true. The average man that lived during Jesus' time was only about 5'2". And I got him. Don't say that to me. He really bothered me about putting that lie out on me. See? But now I need help. And I would never consider him because he offended me so deeply. But he got what I need. See, sometimes we have forgotten that the people who worship alongside you are not separate entities from you. The people alongside you, they are an important ingredient in your fulfilling God's call on your life. And you are an important ingredient in them fulfilling God's call on their life. I cannot be who God called me to be with the most fruitfulness possible if you are not connected to me. We got to hear this because I've heard down through the years on both sides, I've heard pastors tell congregations, I don't need y'all. Y'all need me. Y'all ain't never heard no pastor tell people that. I don't need you. You need me. testify that the Lord called me to this church, the Lord called me to this city, and then in the next breath they testify, this is my ministry, and then go wherever I go. I can leave here today and my ministry go with me. They literally said, the Lord called me here. Then in the next breath, when they got frustrated, they said, if I leave, this anointing leave with me. That don't even make God sense. I've heard pastors tell people, I don't need you. Oh, but I've heard people say openly, I don't need that pastor. He a man like I'm a man. He put on, y'all heard it, he put on his pants one leg at a time, just like I do. Not knowing your pastor, when I get ready to come to church, I grab him and The truth is, I do need you. I need you more than you know I need you. And it's equally true, you need me. Guess what? You need me more than you think you need me. The reality is, we need each other. Think about it as an individual. Think about it. To be whole and healthy, would it make sense for your ears to say to your eyes, I hear perfectly fine, I don't need you. Now we want to be perfectly whole and healthy. Now I'm right-handed. What my right hand look now? I'm the strong, dominant hand now. You know I don't need you, lefty. To be strong, whole, and healthy, I need both of them. Do you understand that naturally speaking? And so for one person in the body to think they don't need another person in the body is literally you talking about self-inflicted damage. If I hurt you, I'm not just hurting you. If I hurt you, without me even being aware of it, I am hurting myself. Because I can only be my best self if you are your best self. And vice versa. That's why the scripture said we're better together. Two is better than one. Right? So when it comes to having the heart of